Most individuals devote their existence pursuing various objectives. They seek acceptance, accomplishment, status, riches, and affirmation. What's more concerning is that many pursue these without pausing to consider the crucial question, why? We inhabit a world that constantly dictates our identity. From youth, we're evaluated, graded, and compared. We're commended when we conform and questioned when we don't. We're asked, what do you aspire to be when you grow up? As if a profession defines our entire being. But seldom does anyone inquire, who are you truly? Self-awareness isn't merely a feel-good notion or a desirable personal growth objective. It's the bedrock. It's the origin. Because if you don't comprehend your true self, you'll end up living a life crafted by others. You'll achieve things that hold no significance for you. You'll awaken one day with everything you believed you desired and still feel vacant. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded in the wrong endeavor. We often believe the journey commences with action, that we must do something, rise, strive, toil. But the truth is, no amount of effort can compensate for a lack of clarity. The most potent form of focus doesn't begin with the eyes, it starts with intention. And intention stems from within. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of your actions? What does success genuinely mean to you? Eliminate the distractions, remove what you've been told. Forget the accolades, the praise, the likes. In the silence, when no one is observing, what do you truly cherish? What makes you feel alive? Because here's the reality, you can't triumph in your race if you're running on someone else's path. The individuals who make the most significant impact, those who inspire and lead, didn't merely follow a script. They began by introspecting. They comprehended their beliefs and values, and that understanding provided them with direction, discipline, and something even more potent, authenticity. People don't follow perfection, they follow purpose. They follow individuals who are genuine, consistent, and rooted in something deeper than ambition. That's what self-awareness bestows upon you, a grounding force. When challenges arise, and they will, self-awareness reminds you of your initial motivation. When you encounter rejection, setbacks, and uncertainty, self-awareness prevents you from quitting. Because it's not solely about what you desire, it's about who you are becoming. Too often, we define ourselves by external factors, our resumes, our bank accounts, our social media followers. But none of these truly reflect your character, resilience, or heart. Those are outcomes, and they can be taken away in an instant. But your identity, your beliefs, your principles, that's something no one can seize from you. So, how do you cultivate self-awareness? Not by listening to others, but to yourself. Pay attention to your feelings in different environments. What energizes you? What drains you? What kinds of problems do you naturally want to solve? What kinds of people make you feel most like yourself? Ask tough questions and be brutally honest with the answers. What are your insecurities? What fears are holding you back? What patterns keep repeating in your life, and why? Then be still. Reflection is uncomfortable because it requires us to confront aspects of ourselves we'd rather ignore. But the only way out is through. There's no shortcut, there's no hack, there's just you choosing to look in the mirror, not to judge yourself, but to understand. And remember, self-awareness isn't a destination, it's a practice. The more you grow, the more you evolve, the more you'll learn about yourself. And that's the beauty of it.
You don't need to have all the answers today. You just need to start asking the right questions. Because once you begin to truly understand who you are, your values, your purpose, your unique essence, everything changes. Your decisions become clearer, your boundaries become firmer, your goals become more aligned. You stop chasing what looks good and start pursuing what feels right. And perhaps most importantly, you stop comparing. When you know your path, you don't need to measure your progress against someone else's. Their pace doesn't matter. Their timeline doesn't matter, because your journey is yours. You are not late, you are not behind, you are exactly where you need to be, learning what you need to learn, becoming who you need to become. We inhabit a world that never ceases to chatter. Everywhere you turn, someone has an opinion. Scroll through your phone for 5 minutes and you'll be told what success should resemble, how you should live your life, and why you're not doing enough. You're being sold perfection disguised as inspiration. And if you're not careful, you'll start pursuing things that have nothing to do with who you are. That's the noise. The noise is the pressure to be visible before you're ready. It's the weight of other people's expectations. It's the comparison game you didn't ask to play. It's every voice that tells you you're behind, you're not enough, you're doing it wrong. And if you listen to it long enough, it will drown out your own voice. It will convince you that your worth is measured by how fast you get there, how big your following is, how impressive your highlight reel looks. But here's the truth. No one else knows your path better than you. No one else has lived your story, carried your burdens, or seen the world through your eyes. So why would you let them define what your life should look like? Focus requires silence. Clarity requires tuning out the chaos. That doesn't mean you become ignorant or disconnected. It means you learn to filter. You learn to distinguish between signal and noise. Signal is feedback grounded in truth and love. Noise is everything that tries to pull you off course. And most of the time, noise shows up dressed as urgency and importance. But what it really is distraction. The most successful people, the most fulfilled people, aren't the ones who knew all the answers from the start. They're the ones who learned how to stay centered in a world full of static. They didn't move faster than everyone else, they moved with purpose. They understood that success isn't about speed, it's about direction. And direction requires the courage to say, this is who I am, and this is what matters to me, even when the world doesn't understand. You have to build a kind of inner radar. You have to learn how to check in with yourself. When you make a decision, ask, is this coming from pressure or alignment? Am I doing this because it's meaningful to me or because I'm afraid of being left behind? Noise thrives on fear. Fear of missing out, fear of failure, fear of judgment. But clarity thrives on intention. When you're clear, you don't need to chase. You don't need to impress. You just need to build. You stay in your lane. You water your own garden. You do the work no one sees, not for applause, but for alignment. It's easy to look around and feel like everyone else is ahead. Their lives seem put together. Their posts are polished. But what you're seeing is a fraction of the story. You're comparing your behind the scenes with their highlight reel, and that's never a fair fight. Real growth is quiet. Healing is private. Building something meaningful takes time, and most of it happens away from the spotlight. So don't let the noise rush you. Don't let it convince you that you're behind. You're not. You're right where you need to be. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes the biggest shifts happen in silence, in moments of reflection, decision, and choosing to stay true to your path even when it's not popular. Ignore the metrics that don't matter. Your value is not in how many people are watching. It's in how many people you can serve, how many lives you can impact, how deeply you can live your truth. That starts with shutting out what doesn't serve you. The opinions, the doubt, the comparison. People will always have something to say. Some will support you, some will doubt you, some will misunderstand you entirely. That's okay. You don't need everyone to get it. You just need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and know that you're moving in integrity, that you're not compromising your values for validation. This doesn't mean you never listen to anyone. There's wisdom and counsel in mentorship, in learning from others. But there's a difference between guidance and noise. Guidance empowers you. Noise confuses you. Guidance helps you see yourself more clearly. Noise makes you question who you are. The difference is in how it makes you feel. Grounded or scattered, affirmed or anxious. The more you grow, the louder the noise gets. More opinions, more pressure, more distractions. But the solution isn't to get louder, it's to get quieter, to go deeper, to come back to your core. Focus on you until you win, not because you're shutting the world out, but because you're tuning in to the only frequency that matters, the one inside you, your gut, your values, your voice.
then it never lies. Success built on noise is fragile. One comment, one trend, one failure can shake it. But success built on alignment is unshakable. It doesn't depend on applause. It doesn't need validation. It's not rooted in trends. It's rooted in truth. So step back, breathe, reflect. Who are you becoming? And are the voices you're listening to helping you get there or pulling you away? You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to be seen to be valuable. You don't have to prove anything to be enough. Just focus, cut the noise, get clear, and move forward. Not louder, but deeper. We all love those moments when we feel unstoppable. The days when energy is high, the vision is clear, and everything just clicks. We call that motivation. And while it's powerful, it's also fleeting. Motivation is like a spark, bright, exciting, but temporary. It can start a fire, but it won't keep it burning. What keeps the fire going is consistency. Motivation is easy to chase because it feels good.
It's addictive. But the problem is, if you rely on it, you'll only move when the feeling is there. And let's be honest, the feeling isn't always there. In fact, most days it won't be. Some days you'll wake up tired. Some days life will throw distractions, stress, even pain your way. And in those moments, motivation disappears. So if motivation is all you've got, what happens then? This is why consistency is greater. Consistency doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It shows up anyway. It's the quiet decision to take one small step, even when you don't feel like it. Especially when you don't feel like it, because that's where the magic happens. Not in the hype, but in the habit. Look at anyone you admire. Anyone who has built something meaningful, whether it's a career, a business, a relationship, a life of purpose. And what you'll find is not just bursts of inspiration. You'll find commitment, discipline, a willingness to do the unglamorous things repeatedly, without applause, without shortcuts, without needing to feel amazing every single day. They didn't get there because they were the most motivated. They got there because they were consistent. We live in a culture obsessed with intensity, the all-or-nothing mindset, burnout disguised as passion. But the people who truly move the needle understand that progress isn't about intensity. It's about rhythm. It's about showing up day after day, doing the work, refining the craft, learning, failing, adjusting, and doing it all again. That's how momentum is built, not in a single leap, but in 1,000 steady steps. There's a kind of trust you build with yourself when you stay consistent. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send a message, "I can count on me." That kind of self-trust is powerful. It's what builds resilience. Because when the external world is unpredictable, you've still got a foundation, a system, a structure, a steady drumbeat of forward motion. Now, none of this means that motivation is useless. Motivation can be a great catalyst. It's like the spark that gets you out the door. But the engine, the thing that keeps you moving forward, that's consistency. That's what separates the people who start from the people who finish. Anyone can begin with excitement, but what about day 20 or day 200? What about when no one is watching? What about when you're tired, discouraged, or uncertain? That's when the choice to be consistent becomes the difference maker. And let's be real, consistency is not always exciting. It's often mundane. It's writing when you don't feel inspired, showing up to the gym when you're not in the mood, making the call, doing the research, taking the steps even when there's no immediate payoff. But this is the paradox. Those boring actions, they're what built excellence. They're what built character. They are the bricks of greatness. The challenge is we often overestimate what we can do in a short amount of time and underestimate what we can achieve with steady, focused effort over the long term. We want fast results, instant gratification, immediate transformation. But anything meaningful takes time, and consistency is what honors that time. It's the discipline to plant seeds and trust the process, even when you can't yet see the fruit. This is not about perfection. You're going to mess up. You're going to miss a day or fall short or feel like quitting. That's normal. That's human. Consistency doesn't mean never slipping. It means getting back up, resetting, realigning, continuing the journey without letting one setback become a spiral.
You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be persistent. And here's the beauty of consistency. It compounds. The small efforts you make every day add up. The choices you make when no one's watching shape your future in ways you can't yet imagine. Over time, the person who acts consistently, even with small steps, will far outpace the one who waits for motivation to strike like lightning. It's not about massive change overnight. It's about building something that lasts, a foundation that can weather the ups and downs, a rhythm that grounds you when emotions fluctuate. When you commit to being consistent, you're saying, I'm in this for the long game, not just to feel good now, but to build something meaningful over time. Ask yourself, what's one thing you could do every day, no matter what, that would move you closer to who you want to be? Start there. Make it simple, make it sustainable, and do it again and again. Eventually, you'll realize that you don't need to feel motivated to take action. Taking action creates motivation. Forward motion fuels belief. Progress, even small, reminds you that growth is possible and that you're capable of more than you thought. We're taught from a young age to chase outcomes, the grades, the trophy, the promotion, the number on the scale. We grow up believing that winning is a moment, a destination we reach, and then everything will finally make sense. We say, once I get there, I'll be happy. Once I win, I'll be proud. Once I make it, I'll feel whole. But if you talk to the people who actually get there, the athletes, the leaders, the entrepreneurs, the artists, you'll hear something surprising. The real reward wasn't just in the achievement, it was in everything it took to become the kind of person who could achieve it. We fall in love with the idea of success, but we overlook the journey that makes success meaningful. That journey, the late nights, the doubts, the practice, the showing up when it's inconvenient, that's the process. And the truth is, if you don't fall in love with the process, you'll never stay long enough to see the results. The process is the part no one claps for. There's no standing ovation when you keep going after a bad day. No one's cheering when you choose discipline over comfort. There are no awards for trying again after failure. But this is where character is built. This is where resilience is formed. Not in the spotlight, in the shadows. Not in the applause, in the silence. The reason so many start strong but fade quickly is that they weren't prepared to love the process. They were addicted to progress. They wanted the dopamine of a win without the patience of practice. But growth doesn't work like that. Progress isn't linear. Some days you move forward, some days you stand still, and some days it feels like you're moving backward. But the one thing that always counts is showing up. Falling in love with the process means shifting your mindset. It means redefining what success looks like. It means valuing effort over outcome, direction over speed, purpose over pressure. It means seeing each day, each action as a brick in the foundation of something bigger than a momentary win. This doesn't mean you stop dreaming. You still set goals, you still aim high, but those goals become guideposts, not prisons. They show you where to go, but they don't define your worth. Your identity is not in the result. It's in your values, your effort, your consistency, your intention. You start to see progress not just in the big wins, but in the small victories. The discipline to do the work, the humility to learn, the courage to keep going when it's hard. We often treat success like a mountain peak, as if life will suddenly be perfect once we get there. But there's no finish line to growth. There's no point at which we become immune to fear, doubt, or failure. What we gain along the way is something better than immunity. We gain strength, we gain wisdom, we gain perspective. Falling in love with the process means accepting that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every misstep teaches you something. Every rejection builds resilience. Every obstacle forces you to adapt, to rethink, to grow. If you're only chasing the win, failure will break you. But if you love the process, failure will shape you. The people who master their craft, the ones who rise above, are not the most talented or the most lucky. They're the most consistent, the most curious, the most patient. They learn to enjoy the grind, the reps, the revisions, the repetition. They see mastery not as an endpoint, but as a lifelong pursuit. They don't just fall in love with what they do, they fall in love with becoming who they're meant to be through what they do. It's easy to be passionate in the beginning. It's easy to be excited when things are new. But true love for the process is proven when the novelty fades, when you're tired, when it's slow, when no one is watching. That's when you find out what you're really made of. And if you can lean in, you can keep going. Sometimes we think loving the process means enjoying every moment, but that's not it. Some moments are frustrating, some days are boring. Loving the process doesn't mean you're always happy. It means you believe it's worth it. It means you trust that even the hard days are building something. Even the ordinary days are laying a foundation. And that belief, that trust, is what separates those who stay from those who stop. There's nothing wrong with wanting to win, but winning is not just a moment you arrive at, it's a mindset you cultivate. It's a daily decision to keep growing, keep showing up, keep building. And when you fall in love with the process, the irony is the results come. Not because you chase them, but because you became the kind of person who attracts them. So ask yourself, are you just chasing the win, or are you becoming someone who earns it? Are you committed to the journey, or just addicted to the outcome? Are you willing to work through the silence, through the setbacks, through the seasons where nothing seems to be working, simply because you believe it matters? That's the process, and that's what will carry you when motivation fades, when doubts creep in, when the finish line feels far away. Because winning isn't a flash, it's a rhythm, a habit, a way of being. In a world obsessed with attention, there's something powerful about restraint. We're constantly surrounded by noise, people shouting about what they're going to do, broadcasting their ambition, posting every move, every milestone, every minor win. And yet, the ones who truly move the world forward aren't always the loudest. They don't waste energy trying to prove themselves. They let the work speak for itself. They let the results tell the story. There's a certain kind of strength that comes from quiet confidence, the kind that isn't rooted in needing validation, but in knowing who you are. That strength doesn't need to announce every step. It doesn't need constant approval. It's built in silence, in discipline, in staying the course when no one is looking. And when it's time, the results, not the noise, will speak volumes. It's easy to talk about what we're going to do. It's easy to get caught up in the performance of progress. But real progress doesn't need a press release. Real growth doesn't have to be posted, because what's done in truth always finds its way to the surface. And when it does, it doesn't need to convince anyone. It just is. Letting the results speak isn't about staying small or playing down your ambition. It's about focus. It's about choosing substance over show, depth over display. It's about redirecting your energy away from performing and into building. Because every moment you spend trying to impress someone is a moment you're not investing in getting better. And the people who are actually doing the work don't have time to explain themselves all day. They're too busy creating. There's a reason the most effective leaders, artists, athletes, and innovators don't spend every day justifying their path. They're not trying to win everyone over. They're too focused on delivering. They trust that results, real, measurable, undeniable results, are the most persuasive thing in the world. And they are. Think about it. When someone consistently shows up, delivers quality, brings value, they don't need to talk themselves up. The impact does it for them. People feel it. People remember it. You don't have to yell when your presence speaks. And when the moment comes, when the lights are on and people finally pay attention, the foundation is already built. The preparation is already done because you chose to do the work in private long before anyone cared. This is where trust is built, when people can rely on you, not just because you said you would, but because you did. Not because you promised results, but because you showed them. There's a reason the most effective leaders, artists, athletes, and innovators don't spend every day justifying their path. They're not trying to win everyone over. They're too focused on delivering. They trust that results, real, measurable, undeniable results, are the most persuasive thing in the world. And they are. Think about it. When someone consistently shows up, delivers quality, brings value, they don't need to talk themselves up. The impact does it for them. People feel it. People remember it. You don't have to yell when your presence speaks. And when the moment comes, when the lights are on and people finally pay attention, the foundation is already built. The preparation is already done because you chose to do the work in private long before anyone cared. This is where trust is built, when people can rely on you, not just because you said you would, but because you did. Not because you promised results, but because you showed them.
That's where credibility comes from, not from charisma or talk, but from consistency and evidence. It's easy to confuse visibility with progress, but visibility without value is just noise, and eventually people see through it. You can only still height for so long. If there's no substance underneath, it crumbles. But if you focus on getting it right, even when it's slow, even when it's thankless, then when the time comes, the work will speak so clearly you won't have to. Letting the results speak also requires patience because the process isn't always fast. Sometimes you're doing all the right things and there's no visible payoff. Sometimes it feels like no one is noticing. That's when most people quit. That's when people start grasping for shortcuts, for attention, for something to make the wait feel worth it. But the ones who stay, the ones who keep showing up, they understand something deeper. That delayed recognition is not the same as wasted effort, that what's being built in the dark will eventually shine in the light, and that the outcome will be even more meaningful because it wasn't manufactured, it was earned. This way of thinking demands maturity. It demands that you check your ego, that you don't need instant applause to stay committed, that you can separate your self-worth from public approval, that you understand the real reward is not in being seen, but in becoming someone worth seeing. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't failure, it's premature exposure, being seen before you're ready, getting attention before you've built the foundation. Because when the spotlight comes too soon, it can blind you. But when you've done the work, when you've grown in the dark, then when the light hits, you don't flinch. You're ready, you're steady, because you let the results speak, not your ego. There's a quiet kind of power in those who move with this level of conviction. They don't need to scream for space in the room. Their presence earns it. They don't need to outtalk others. Their work outperforms. They're not reactive, they're intentional. And in a world where everyone is trying to be heard, sometimes the most influential thing you can do is be the one who listens, who learns, who leads by example. So ask yourself, what am I building when no one's watching? Who am I becoming in the quiet hours? Am I trying to impress people or am I trying to improve? Because the applause is nice, but it fades. The attention comes and goes. But your results, your growth, the impact you've created, that stays. Let your work be the loudest thing in the room. Let your results be the story you tell. You don't need to convince people that you're worth betting on. Show them again and again. Show them through your commitment, through your patience, through your excellence. Because when you focus on you until you win, when you block out the noise, build in silence, stay consistent, and fall in love with the process, the results won't just speak, they'll echo.